Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to News Central Now. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories at this hour. Nigeria's anti-graft watchdog EFCC condemns misappropriation of government palliatives meant for citizens. Attack by Islamists insurgents in Mali leaves at least 15 soldiers dead, and 8 have been killed and 2 others wounded after a mosque under construction collapsed in Ivory Coast. Details shortly. Now, the news begins in West Africa, where the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, has condemned the trend of the repackaging, rebranding and resale of government palliatives meant for the general populace. Olukoyede pointed out that such actions compromise the government's initiatives aimed at alleviating the hardships faced by vulnerable groups. In a statement released on Friday, EFCC spokesperson Dele Oyewale conveyed that Olukoyede called upon the FCCPC to collaborate with the EFCC by sharing intelligence to improve operational effectiveness. The EFCC Chairman acknowledged that the FCCPC had uncovered various issues concerning the misappropriation of palliatives and stressed that a partnership with the anti-graft agency would be instrumental in preventing such misconduct. About 20 medical students have been kidnapped in Benue State. The victims were on their way to Enugu State, passing through the Otukpo local government area in Benue before they encountered bandits. According to the public relations officer of the Benue State Police Command, Suwesuese Enene, the victims were en route to Enugu for a program when they ran into the kidnappers around Otukpo. The students were said to be traveling in a convoy of 2 buses and were coming from the northern part of the country when they ran into the ambush on Thursday evening at about 5:30 p.m. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors in Delta State have joined their counterparts nationwide to condemn and demand for the unconditional release of their abducted colleague Dr. Ganiat Popoola or down tools, if not released by August 26th. Their demands were conveyed at a peaceful demonstration in Asaba, the state capital. News Central correspondent Austin Azu tells us more.
In its solidarity demand, the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors in Delta State converged on the Federal Medical Center, Asaba, the state capital, to register their grievances over the 7-month captivity of their colleague, Dr. Ganiat Popoola, in hands of her abductors, despite paying ransom to the kidnappers. The doctors, carrying different placards with various inscriptions, marched through the FMC premises, demanding for her unconditional release.
Enough is enough. No more kidnapping of doctors.
The state president of the association, who spoke to newsmen alongside others, decried the incessant kidnapping of doctors and health workers across the country, thereby contributing to the brain drain in the health sector. They said the association has lost patience with the government's inaction over the abduction, despite writing several letters to security agencies, the federal government and the Kaduna state government, but seen no significant action.
We proceeded on these peaceful protests to draw the attention of the government of the Federation, government of Kaduna State, relevant security agencies, to come to our rescue. Remember, injury to one, injury to all.
I can't just fathom what she has been through for the last 7 months plus. We are joining our voices around the whole world, pleading with the press, pleading with the security agents, pleading with the Federal Institute. They should please help us secure a safe release back to our family.
We are sensitive humans as doctors. We don't want to withdraw our services. But if we are pushed to the wall, that will be done, because the safety of doctors, the safety of our families, the safety of you journalists, all Nigerians are important.
If workers rendering essential services across Nigeria are regularly being kidnapped at their duty post at will, who else is safe in Nigeria? Dr. Ganiat, the registrar in the Department of Ophthalmology at the National Eye Center, Kaduna, was adopted on December 27, 2023, along with her husband and nephew. While her husband was released in March, Dr. Goliath and her nephew still remain in captivity. In Asaba, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Now, Director of New Media and spokesperson for the Muri Sam Campaign Council of the Social Democratic Party in Kogi State, Isaiah Davis Ijele, has expressed deep frustration over the police commissioner's handling of security in the state. Isaiah Davis Ijele further emphasized that the state has become a den of robbers, kidnappings, and other vices, accusing the CP of focusing more on political matters than on public safety. Ijele recounted a personal near-death experience in Kogi, underscoring the severity of the situation. He also questioned how the commissioner knew about the Supreme Court's upcoming judgment date before it was officially announced, raising concerns about possible political manipulation. Now, joining us on the news is Director of New Media and spokesperson himself for Muri Sam Campaign Council, Isaiah Davis Ijele. Mr. Ijele, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, so you've expressed deep frustration over the handling of security in Kogi State by the current police commissioner, citing the state as a den of robbers and also of kidnappers. So, would you please expound on these claims that you have made?
Thank you very much once again for having me. These are not allegations. These are statements of fact. I am a victim of Bertrand Onoha. It is only God, and by His grace, that I'm still talking to you today. I think he has overstayed in that state. Let me take you back. Prior to the election, the build-up of 2023 election, we were invaded in the house of our DG campaign council. Now, a director general of a major opposition has to be invaded on allegedly information of arms being kept in that compound. And the only thing that these people...
Hello, Mr. Ijele, are you there with us, please? Mr. Ijele? Unfortunately, we've lost connection with Mr. Davis Ijele there. Perhaps we'll bring you that communication after, so do stay tuned. Moving on now, Sokoto State Governor Ahmed Aliyu has called on communities in the Gudu local government area to assist the authorities with relevant information, especially intelligence gathering, to defeat bandits terrorizing the area. Aliyu gave the charge on Friday while addressing the people of the area who came out to receive him on a thank-you visit to the area. He explained that securing the area is a collective responsibility, hence the need for all hands to be on deck. The governor renewed his administration's commitment to making the state safe and secure. Aliyu also pledged to renovate Dibale General Hospital, which has been facing serious dilapidations. And in more news, 3 more deaths have been confirmed from the alleged shooting by security operatives in Zaria, Kaduna State, as soldiers enforcing a curfew placed by the state government during the recent End Bad Governance protest opened fire on residents. News Central's investigations reveal that the incident occurred in the Sumaru area of the town, where personnel of the Nigerian army were fingered for allegedly being complicit. This is happening days after a soldier with the Nigerian army shot dead a 16-year-old boy, Ismail Mohammed.
Sun wuto gidan man nan kusa da sai ga police nan division dan magaji ku tsaya sai suka harba bindiga sama za mu harbe ku sai ko suka arta a guje to gudun za su suka dinga bin su a guje harba bindiga na biyu da za su shine kawai shi kuma sai ya firgita sai sun kuya tsakanin hanyar dawowa da kuma na zuwa wannan tsakanin gadan kawai sai ya fada
gadan Musasa kenan
sai ya fada ciki
ya fadi da gadan Musasa ya soka kasa ya fadi a wurin ya rasu
a wurin ya Allah ya mishi rasuwa kuma sai suka ki zuwa wurin sai suna ta zagaye wurin da safen ma aka ce ga mutum sai suka ki zuwa wurin aka ce ga mutum ya mutu to akwai wani dan mu a nan zai je Abuja sai ga mutum haka an zagaye shi sai bude haka ganyen da ya bude ganyen sai ce ai kanina ne
dana isiya ya rasu kaman 11 na rana. Na dawo na cimma abin ba na gida amma na jin wannan harbi na dawo na cimma an harbi yaron ya rasu kuma.
Harbi bi aka yi mishi ba. To kawai sai mun ga yanke ciki ya faɗi. Ba mu sani ba sai an harbe shi ne ya so biyu.
Kani da Allah wannan bawan Allah da bi aka kashe shi. In dai harbin ka aka yi ana so ka bar guri ai harbi ɗaya za a ma kuma a kafa.
We'll now go back to our previous story where the director of new media and spokesperson for the Muri Sam Campaign Council of the Social Democratic Party in Kogi State, Isaiah Davis Ijele, has called for or expressed his frustration over the police commissioner's handling of security issues in the state. Mr. Ijele, we lost you there earlier. Apologies there. But now that you're back, you talked about manipulation by the CP. Would you please explain exactly how this is? And you also talked about, well, you called it political manipulation.
You see, this is the case here. Let me just tell you just an incident that just occurred a few months ago when some students were adopted from the university. I made a press statement that over 30 students were adopted from the school. The only thing this man was concerned about in his press release was the opposition are escalating or inflating the numbers of the students. There are about 5 or 6. But to our amazement, the same CP claim over 22 people have been rescued. And I question the integrity of that CP, Bertrand Onoha, that if people were adopted and now rescued by the by police, where are they? Where are their parents? Their parents should come out to tell us that these are their kids that were adopted from the university, now be rescued. There was nothing of such. And yesterday, as I speak to you, 2 students have been in the captivity of these same kidnappers until yesterday that they regained their freedom. Yeah, they were lying to the nation, lying to us, even went to the presidency with some few students that these are the victim of the remaining victim of the students that were rescued. Meanwhile, it's all lies, all false, just to cover up everything. Only for this same man who cannot listen to this every blessed day. Issues of kidnappers in Kogi is in the whole of Kogi. People can no longer see. I have some people that sent me message that they have left the packed out of Lokoja because of insecurity. And this is the same CP there. The only thing he was concerned about is to bring about a memo or a circular ordering his men to take position all the strategic point in Kogi State that the judgment is going to be on the 16th, which is last Friday, yesterday. And as you can see, there was nothing like that yesterday. There was nothing like political judgment from the Supreme Court. Let me tell you this. Supreme Court, even in the lower court, there are procedures. Filing, counter-filing, defense, and order. And the court will set a date for hearing. It is after the hearing that they will determine what next. In this case, filing are still ongoing, defense filing are still ongoing, and the next thing is judgment. You see, it's laughable. You have it. I sent it to you. Your people were in our press conference 2 days ago, and they have the copies of the circular. And who gave him such information? How did he know about? All is a plot. They did this at the tribunal, and they did it again at the appeal court. And you see, brother, let me tell you this. Our Supreme Court must rescue the people of Kogi State.
Okay.
Ondo is waiting to look at if indeed Beavers is going to be a predicted means of voting in Nigeria. So, when this is jeopardized, we will never have a good country.
All right, Mr. Ejele. Now, earlier you were talking about an instance where your life was in danger somewhere in Kogi State. Is this something that is experienced by people in this state, not just yourself? And what's the frequency of these occurrences?
So many people under the administration of Governor Yaya Bello, which is the puppeteer, who is in control of his puppet in the state. Listen, we are being governed by puppet. And the puppeteer is Governor Yaya Bello. He is now at large. And until the federal government gives justice to the people of Kogi State, the puppeteer will still be behind the scene controlling the puppet. And that is the reason for insecurity. Listen, the house of the DG was riddled with bullets. The evidence are there. Naomi was killed, burnt alive. Just last week, and a chief was murdered in the broad daylight in Kogi State. CP Bertrand Onoha is the one there. Secondly, as I speak to you, I come from Bagana, Kogi State. My people are still in IDP. Agujeju are still in IDP. And as many villages around Omala local government, now to of local government, the issue of insecurity, kidnapping. 2 days ago, people were leaving Nyanya Abuja through Alpa and were ambushed by kidnappers. As I speak to you, a lot of them died. A woman and a carouseller escaped that gruesome murders of some of her colleagues. But today she is in the hospital with so it's only God if she's going to escape such injury. And who is the CP of that state? Is the same Bertrand Onoha. Have you heard him? Have you seen him giving a press conference, addressing the state, addressing the issues of security in that state? Never. The only thing you see this man, anytime you see this man coming out, it has to do with politics.
Right, Mr. Ijele,
you see, it is high time.
Beyond the removal of the CP, like you've called for, what other situations or whatever, what other situations could actually improve security in Kogi State?
Is the change of government. When we have person like Muritala Ajaka who know the pains of his people, he will take security as a priority. And because like I said, for the past 9 years, Kogi State have been under the control of the puppeteer. And until we remove that puppeteer, we can never move forward. You see, Kogi State today, the federal government are looking for Yahya Bello, and he's right in the government house with his puppet. And you see, until the judgment is given, until the will of the people, until the accreditation, listen to this, we are not looking for a judgment that is against the rule of law, that is against the beaver, that is against the accreditation. Just yesterday, Professor Mahmoud gave a press conference and he told the whole world that there is no going back in beavers and IREF in transmission from the polling unit. And the accreditation is the only means of voting in this Nigeria. Now, we should ask Professor Mahmoud, why is he there sending his son lawyers to defend the same fraud that were perpetrated in Kogi State under the same fugitive Governor Yahya Bello? It is laughable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ijele. Your points have been noted, and we'll continue to follow your request for the removal of the CP and see where that goes. Thank you very much, Mr. Ijele.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Let's take a break now. When we come back, more news inside the hour. Welcome back. The leadership of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State has urged the National Working Committee not to disobey the court order that reinstated Chief Emeka Beke-led executive in the state. The state APC Publicity Secretary, Darlington Nwauju, gave the advice in a statement issued in Port Harcourt on Friday. Recall that a Rivers State High Court presided over by Justice Sika Aprioku had sacked the caretaker committee of the APC in the state led by Chief Tony Okocha, saying the party's National Working Committee does not have the power to dissolve an elected person while its tenure was still running. Justice Aprioku also reinstated the Okocha-led CTC from distracting the Beke State APC leadership pending the expiration of their 4-year tenure. The Edo State chapter of the People's Democratic Party has dismissed claims that its party candidate had been disqualified from contesting the upcoming governorship election. The Deputy Director of Strategic Communications of the Campaign Council says that those peddling the rumors are mischievous and irresponsible.
The public space. It's almost all over the space that Aswe has been disqualified in the most brazen, uncouth misinterpretation of simple court declarations that are in the public space. When you lie to a people with the mind of making those people make uncouth judgments, it is treasonable. There is no sin.
Away from that now, the federal government has appealed to aviation unions to shelve their plans for a strike over the deduction of 50% of the internal revenue of aviation agencies. In a memo dated August 14, the unions comprising the National Union of Air Transport Employees, the Air Transport Service Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, the Association of Nigeria Aviation Professionals, the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers, and the Amalgamated Union of Public Corporation Civil Service Technical and Recreation Services Employees had threatened to strike. But the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has appealed to them to shelve the planned strike. Keyamo assured the workers' union that President Bola Tinubu is very concerned about the improvement of the aviation sector. Now joining me live is Nnamdi Udo, Airspace Infrastructure and Aviation Specialist. Mr. Udo, you're welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. So, Mr. Udo, what is the rationale behind deducting 50% of the internal revenue of aviation agencies, and how does it impact their operations?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's a misplaced aggression for revenue drive. Aviation, like you know, is a catalyst for the economic development in any society. So, and the International Organization for Aviation, ICAO, the National Civil Aviation Organization, has made it abundantly clear. Aviation is not for money making, but just for basic recovery for investment. So I wouldn't know why someone would want to expect that money meant for safety and economic expeditious flow of air transportation should be plowed back into other things for revenue generation. It doesn't happen anywhere else.
So how does the deduction affect the agency's ability to invest in infrastructure development and also safety improvements?
First and foremost, every infrastructure used for aviation operation in Nigeria are all dollarized. None is manufactured in Nigeria, same with aircraft. And why will anybody at this point in time be talking about taking money and buy aviation parastatals to contribute to other aspects of when they are struggling to exist? So it is unacceptable, it is not right, and there is no safety conscious related attitude towards it. Because like we say, no money, no safety. Any money you remove from aviation is given economic consideration against safety. So you can't do that. It's unacceptable.
So could you suggest, or if I could ask, if there are any international best practices or benchmarks that obtain around the world for revenue deductions in aviation sector that Nigeria can draw sample from?
There's a template. Like I said at the initial, the International Civil Aviation Organization have made it clear every money made in aviation should be used for replacement. A runway has a lifespan. A terminal building has a lifespan. Radars have a lifespan. Instrument landing systems have a lifespan, and so on and so forth. So if you have 1,000 landings in a runway and you have taken 50% of the revenue accrued to fund for landing to other things, how are you going to replace that runway? And then when an aeroplane lands on it and there's rain and there's aquaplane and there's an accident, fund is called to account. Same for radar, same for air traffic communication equipment, same for ground-to-air communication facilities, same for meteorology, and so on and so forth.
So what's the impact of the aviation minister's influence here, stepping in to tell that the president is very concerned about the aviation sector? Has this in any way helped the matter?
Well, you know, we are used to a certain language. I assure you, this will happen, this will happen. Well, there's a rumor that government might reduce the 50% to 20% until we see. And then we can go back to the drawing board and advise those concerned what to do. The minister's statement is usually very political. You must be seen to be acting in the interest of safety. It is not enough to say Mr. President is concerned, Mr. President is interested. We need to see your attitude towards Murtala Mohammed Airport. It's been how many years old? I've been talking about refurbishment, been talking about replacements, and every little thing, somebody who is on the seat of power is blamed. Managing director, directors, people are suspended, people are redeployed. Meanwhile, the problem is still there every year, year in, year out.
So, Mr. Odo, regarding the deduction, you said that there might be a rumor that it might be reduced to 20%. Would 20% reduction, or deduction rather, be adequate?
No, 20% is a step in the right direction. In my opinion, they should call stakeholders, professionals to sit down, and we produce the statistics. Look at the revenue, look at the investments, look at the human resource development, like NCA. NCA must train yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and continues. And this is money. So if they say they reduce to 20%, it means somebody is listening. So we need to pound them more, and I think that will help to make them see the reason to completely remove. Aviation does not invest in other economies everywhere else in the world.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Odo. Good to have you here on the news today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
In light of the latest report by the National Bureau of Statistics, which shows a decline in Nigeria's inflation rate to 33.4% in July, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has emphasized that the government's bold economic policies are beginning to show positive results. Speaking at the launch of the domestic US dollar government bond in Lagos, Edun highlighted that despite initial discomforts, the government's macroeconomic reforms are now yielding long-term benefits and signs of economic stability are becoming evident. News Central's correspondent Leko Onabanjo brings us the details in this report.
Provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone.
The removal of fuel subsidy and the floating of the Naira, two major policy decisions of the Bola Tinubu administration, had sparked intense debates due to their immediate harsh economic impacts. However, the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, defended these measures, stating that Nigeria is now reaching a turning point.
When we look at the evidence, we can see that the economy is showing signs of recovery. Output is growing. The exchange rate is stabilizing and is reflected in the rise of the reserves, about $4 billion, I believe, since the beginning of the year.
While the NBS report indicates a decline in inflation to 33.40% in July, questions remain about whether this is reflective of a stabilized exchange rate or broader macroeconomic improvements.
We believe it has peaked, that inflation is coming down and will continue to. Even the central bank's figures give us an end-of-year inflation rate that's in the 20s.
It's not necessarily because of any government policy. Normally when it's harvest season, of course, food items from the farms would go to the market and eventually to the consumer's household. So prices normally come down. So it's not necessarily because of any government policy. I know, politicians always like to take credit for good things happening and as much as possible.
As the finance minister calls for continued support to further accelerate the benefits of these policies, it's still a bit unclear of what Nigeria's future trajectory is.
We do expect the result to be a stable macroeconomic environment with lowered inflation, stable exchange rate, lowered interest rates that allow investment to continue apace.
The economy was technically on its knees when President Tinubu came on board. But the reason why Nigerians are not really happy with the president is because instead of making things better, he actually made matters worse. How did he do that? By removing subsidy and by floating the Naira. We need policies that can actually move the needle. For example, now price of fuel has climbed. So if there is a way you can bring down the price of refined fuel, and I think one way of doing that is by boosting investment in domestic refining.
As the Nigerian government continues to navigate the complexities of economic reforms, Nigerians at this time would need some sort of assurance that the dark days are over and the broader positive benefits of the policies will be felt by all. In Lagos for News Central, I am Lekon Onobanjo.
Now, in today's digital age, small businesses in Nigeria are navigating a complex landscape of opportunities and risks. As they transition from traditional physical stores to online platforms, they face new challenges in protecting themselves against cyber fraud and crimes. In response to this growing concern, the U.S. Consulate has launched a groundbreaking initiative to equip small businesses with the tools and expertise needed to thrive in a secure digital environment. News Central's Adeshewa Odushoga reports.
From bricks to clicks, digitalization of the world has forced many small businesses in Nigeria to evolve to the online space. While these may have come with better opportunities, it has also put some businesses at the mercy of cyber fraud and crime. The quest for cybersecurity necessitated the Safe Cyber initiative by the U.S. Consulate, designed to equip small businesses to prevent financial fraud.
So this is an initiative, as I mentioned, led by an alumni of one of our exchange programs. One of the things the United States mission does here in Nigeria is sends leaders to the United States to learn about how their field in Nigeria is also being done in the United States. And then we help them bring that back to Nigeria so that people in Nigeria can benefit from what's happening in the U.S. and it helps build connections with the United States. So this is about helping entrepreneurs, small business leaders to secure their businesses.
Speaking at the training, the U.S. Consul General Will Stevens have noted that the U.S. government is committed to advancing cybersecurity and fostering stability in its cyberspace.
This project is running across 3 different states. It's an advocacy project. It's an awareness project for people to understand that beyond buying, tools and resources, there are a lot of free tools and, compliances that you can practice to ensure that you protect yourself from cyber financial fraud.
Participants learned about common cyber threat, prevention strategies, and best practices for protecting their businesses from cyber attacks. Topics covered included password security, safe browsing habits, data backup, and incident response.
Awareness on how to guide my business from threat actor, from cyber threats, from being exposed, from being protecting my data, and also training myself on how to guide and protect against any cyber threats towards our business and activities.
My expectations from the training is to gain more credible knowledge on why do small businesses need to be aware of to take cybersecurity serious. What are the effects on the business and what are the effects on the economy at large?
The training forms part of the U.S. Consulate's efforts to promote cybersecurity awareness and cooperation between the U.S. and Nigeria. The target is to train at least 320 young people in 6 months across 3 states, which include Lagos, Oyo, and Osun State. In Lagos, for News Central, Adeshewa Odushoga.
Urban development and expansion usually catch up with towns and villages located close to major cities. Such rural areas often become urbanized as more people rent houses and build shops as economic activities thrive there. However, this urbanization also brings with it attendant concerns. Some of these concerns are contained here in this report.
They feel the impact of urbanization through the influx of strangers in their communities and the lifestyles introduced to the locals. The efforts by the government to put in place infrastructure to depict the growing status of the communities from rural to urban areas do not meet the expectations of the masses.
The way we thought that the community or the I don't know how we put the area will be, we are not benefiting from it. We are not seeing anything.
In Umuahia, the Abia state capital, communities that are within the state capital are mostly affected by urbanization, either in the positive way or negative manner.
Ndị mbere ala anyị amachaghị ụfọdụ wepụkwa ụmụ ọjọọ bịa ụlọ ahụ n'otu ebe ndị ugbu a ndị a na-akpọ court owe ndị mbịara nọ gbakwara ụmụ abịakwara na-akpa agwa eji wee sigbo ofe esi wee bịa.
Anywhere you find urbanization taking over, it affected the culture, even characters. Most of our children are also prone because the illicit thing, all this drug that goes all over the world today. This area is not exceptional. But
the most critical concern for the villagers would be the disregard for farming by the people and preference for new lifestyles not associated with the community.
The watch, you don't have palm trees. People are not eager to work. Farm. People take interest in selling their land now instead of getting engaged in farm work. And it's affecting us seriously.
Some age-long traditions and customs are being ignored by communities, such as the weekly sanitation exercise, where community members gather to clean their surroundings.
Be it urbanization or development, however it comes, the people will bear the consequences. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Coming up, at least 15 soldiers killed in jihadist attack in Mali. We'll bring you details right after the break. And you're welcome back. Now, an attack blamed on Al-Qaeda-linked jihadists in central Mali has killed at least 15 soldiers in the latest violence to hit the troubled region. Mali has for more than a decade, been ravaged by jihadists and other armed groups, with the center of the West African country becoming a hotbed of violence since 2015. The source added that there were also missing and wounded soldiers. Another elected official confirmed the information, adding that the provisional toll included 14 members of the National Guard and 1 gendarme. And a mosque under construction has partially collapsed in Ivory Coast's capital of Abidjan, killing 8 people and wounding 2 others. A rescue operations commander for the country's military firefighters group, Alban Konan, says the mosque is located in the central area of Kogi, where 3 other buildings have fallen in recent months. Konan added that ongoing search and rescue efforts were 70% complete. The Ivorian Construction, Housing and Urbanization Ministry has not confirmed whether the works were legal. In the continent's east, the presidency of Burundi has announced the pardon of journalist Florine Irangbabiye, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for allegedly undermining the integrity of the national territory. Irangbabiye was arrested in August 2022 and sentenced in January 2023, sparking international concerns over press freedoms. President Evariste granted the pardon on August 14, allowing for her total remission of sentences. Human rights groups ACAT Burundi welcomed the decision but urged the president to release all others who are unjustly imprisoned.
Je viens de retrouver ma famille, là maintenant. Je viens de sortir de la prison de Bubanza où je venais de passer quelques mois. Mais après 1 année et plus de 9 mois d'emprisonnement, bientôt 2 ans. Et donc pour moi, c'est un grand soulagement. Pour moi, ma famille, certainement pour mes enfants. Une page de mon histoire qui s'écrit, certainement qui ne s'oubliera jamais pour moi et tous mes proches et tous ceux qui tiennent à moi. Et je remercie surtout tous ceux qui ont lancé un appel vibrant, en particulier l'Union européenne. L'Union européenne, ils n'ont pas cessé de me soutenir de quelconque manière. Ils ont tout fait pour que peut-être ce jour ait lieu. Et je remercie aussi l'ensemble de toutes les organisations de défense des droits humains, de journalisme Oui, mais peut-être d'une autre manière différente de comment je le faisais avant, parce qu'il y aurait eu peut-être quelque chose qui a dérapé de mon côté, ou bien je pourrais faire aussi d'autres choses parce que j'ai un diplôme, j'ai aussi d'autres choses que j'entreprenais même auparavant.
Mon message est simple. Je suis très enchanté par la décision de grâce présidentielle qui a fait ce que Florian Irangabillé soit pardonné et qu'elle puisse retrouver sa famille.
Now, Indonesia celebrated its Independence Day in Nusantara on Saturday as the government rushed to complete the future capital, which is slated to replace sinking and polluted Jakarta. The $32 billion mega project on Borneo Island was expected to officially become Indonesia's political capital on Saturday, but construction delays and funding problems forced President Joko Widodo to defer signing a presidential decree sealing the move. Widodo, more popularly known as Jokowi, attended the ceremony in Nusantara with cabinet ministers and military brass as he sought to reassure potential investors of the project's viability before he leaves office after a decade in power. He was the first president to attend a state ceremony in the unfinished capital. The Democratic presidential candidate, who is also U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, has unveiled an economic blueprint heavy on popular measures to cut costs for Americans while attacking powerful companies for price gouging as she fleshes out her election platform ahead of the Democratic National Convention. The speech in North Carolina was the first time Harris, who is to run against Donald Trump, laid out a vision for combating the inflation which soured voters on their boss, President Joe Biden. Promising to champion an opportunity economy, she said building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. In an effort to connect with voters angry at Biden, Harris recounted her modest background, noting that she's worked in a McDonald's during university studies.
As president, I will be laser focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity. Together, we will build what I call an opportunity economy. Yes, a new way forward. To build an America where everyone's work is rewarded and talents are valued, where we work with labor and business to strengthen the American economy, and where everyone has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency, because I strongly believe when the middle class is strong, America is strong. So believe me, as president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
Now, sports. The Athletics Federation of Nigeria have listed Paris 2024 Olympics 400-meter semi-finalist Ella Onodruwevo, long jump finalist Pristina Ochonogo, Commonwealth Youth Games 100-meter silver medalist Justina Eyakpo-Bemeyena, and also Israel Okon of the World Under-20 Championships scheduled to take place in Peru. The championship will run from August 27th to the 31st. The 18-man team Nigeria, which was released on Friday, has 8 men and 10 women competing in 8 events through the 100-meter, 200, 400, 400-meter hurdles, 800-meter, the 4x100-meter and 4x400-meter relays, as well as 2 field events, the long jump and high jump. Now, Manchester United's £36 million new signing Joshua Zirkzee became an instant Old Trafford hero as he scored an 87th minute winner against Fulham. The former Bologna forward came on with Alejandro Garnacho after an hour as United struggled to find a breakthrough against Marco Silva's side. and the pair combined in the nick of time as the Argentina winger crossed from the right and Xerxes calmly steered the ball into the bottom corner in a hammer blow for Fulham. The win boosts United's preparation ahead of the game against Brighton on the 24th of August. And Carlos Alcaraz suffered a shock second-round exit at the Cincinnati Open at the hands of veteran Frenchman Gael Monfils in a rain-delayed clash. Rain cancelled play for the night after Alcaraz took the first set 6-4 but found himself down 3-1 in the second set tiebreak. When they returned to action on Friday, it was 37-year-old Monfils who turned the match around to seal a stunning 4-6, 7-6, 7-5, 6-4 win against the second seed. Alcaraz was playing his first hard-court tournament since Miami in March and his first event since winning a silver medal at the Paralympics. And that's all on the news, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. We told you that Nigeria's anti-graft watchdog EFCC condemned misappropriation of government palliatives meant for citizens. An attack by Islamist insurgents in Mali left at least 15 soldiers dead. Finally, 8 have been killed and 2 others wounded after a mosque under construction collapsed in Ivory Coast. Remember, you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen, and do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.